I, Jane, 21 female, was one of Vanessa's 21 female 3 bridesmaids, and her wedding took place at a remote lodge venue up a mountain. When everyone got to the lodge, we did a dry run of the ceremony and surveyed the area. I assumed the men would go to their cabin and the women would go to ours, and we'd relax before the wedding. Instead, the men immediately headed to the liquor store, and the groom and bride's mothers began ordering the bridesmaids to move furniture into place. That night, the women did everything from dragging 250 chairs out of the shed and setting them up to hauling furniture down 2 flights of stairs and positioning it in other places. Because I was the tallest and strongest person in the group, it was mostly on me to haul the larger pieces around, and the mother and mother-in-law of the bride largely stood around talking about details with her. I repeatedly asked if the groom and groomsmen could be called to help, but I was told that we didn't want to bother them and that they're out unwinding before the big day. The bride's father has a heart condition and the father-in-law was much older and walking with a cane, so he couldn't help. At the end of 2 very sweaty hours, I had splinters and blisters and was covered in sweat, but everything was set up. During the wedding, I learned that the bride and groom were trying to avoid all the setup and takedown fees from the venue. The groom's mother condescendingly patted me on the arm and said everything would be okay because Jane's our workhorse. After a bit more conversation, I found out that the bride and groom were to leave, and then the bridesmaids and groomsmen to stick around doing everything from cleaning up trash to moving the furniture back where we'd gotten it. Towards the end of the party, almost everyone had left, and I realized that 2 of the groomsmen were so drunk that they would be useless, and it would again be on the bridesmaids to clean up and put all the furniture back up the stairs. I wanted to tell the bride goodbye, judging from her slightly panicked expression and, "Oh, you're leaving? You're leaving now?" questions. I realized that she expected me to move the furniture back but didn't want to say anything while surrounded by people. So I left, and my phone blew up as I drove back down the mountain. The other bridesmaids were texting me, and Vanessa's mother left me an angry voicemail about how I was bailing on my duties as a bridesmaid. Then, the next day, I woke up to a massive paragraph from Vanessa that said it was my fault that they had to pay the $500 cleanup fee because they couldn't get everything back in time. So for this, am I the idiot? Not the idiot. I would have laughed in their faces for 20 minutes if they demanded my money. If the wedding party is doing this kind of work, you should have been asked in advance. You can't demand your wedding party do heavy labor like that because you want to be a cheapskate. You can ask, but you just can't expect and demand, especially not last minute, and the whole wedding party should be working. Not even a wedding party, but just the bridal party because we don't want to bother the men they need to unwind. To think that the groomsmen have a right to unwind, but the bridesmaid should do the hard labor, and afterward get punished for not having indulged too much? Heck no. Their awful planning is not OP's problem. They wanted to save but let the men rest and get drunk. They didn't even ask nicely. What awful people. Good on you for leaving. This was above and beyond bridesmaid duties, and you shouldn't be treated as the one at fault. But curious, were you close with Vanessa? Why was this not conveyed to you earlier? I was semi-close with her. We weren't best friends, but we had many classes together, and we went to the same high school before going to the same college. Her parents and his parents were paying for everything, so they were the ones running the show. Holy smokes, Vanessa isn't your friend. You should probably block all of them. How can anyone blame you specifically whatsoever? These people are idiots if they think you alone caused this problem. I'm livid after reading this. You are not a workhorse. What a disgusting comment to make. I'm glad you left. You didn't sign up for that. Vanessa sucks and doesn't deserve you. My daughter Amanda, a young teen, has cerebral palsy. She can walk independently but cannot walk for long periods and can't walk on anything other than even ground without assistance, i.e. stairs have to have rails, can't walk on rocks, sand, etc. She has an IEP for this that states what she can and cannot do in PE, excursions, etc. It's relevant to know that Amanda catches the bus home, but can only catch a specific route as the other route the school offers drops her off at a road about a mile away with no footpath. I got a call at work at 11 a.m. today telling me that Amanda had spoken rudely to a substitute PE gym teacher, who tried to make her climb the rock wall that her school has. Apparently, Amanda did say, "I can't, I have cerebral palsy and I have an IEP." But when another child said, "Yeah, same here," the teacher didn't believe her and became insistent, standing over her, so Amanda told him to screw off and wouldn't repeat anything but screw off until she was sent to the office. In the handbook, this type of offence is a same-day after-school detention, but when the principal called me, I said absolutely not. I told them they were welcome to do a week's worth of lunch detentions or even schedule it so I could change my work schedule, but not this afternoon. My husband is away for work, I have to work until 6 p.m, and I need Amanda to be on her regular bus because I have nobody who can drop her off at home at 4:30 when detention finishes. So they told me about the late bus, and I reminded them why Amanda couldn't take that bus and was told, well, sounds like a natural consequence to me. This isn't your average kid refusing to do something, being rude and deserving a long walk home and detention. This is a kid that could be seriously harmed if she was made to walk that far and on the road. The principal told me that I was making excuses and that Amanda needed to face the consequences, and I didn't technically need to give permission. They were making me aware. I agree that Amanda needs to face the consequences for her language, which are that she's grounded for the weekend and has to serve any lunch detention the school gives her, and apologize to the teacher for specifically her language. Nothing else. But putting her in danger is not right, and that if they were insistent on this, I was insistent on taking my lunch break right now to drive over and pull her out for the rest of the day. Edit. The school called back and said she had 2 days of lunch detention, but my sister, who lives interstate, thinks I'm being one of those mums and tells me that I was in the wrong. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Why is a little girl made responsible for enforcing her medical accommodation at school? They tried to force your daughter to climb a rock wall because they didn't believe her when she said she had an IEP. That's insane. Imagine how many other kids they're pulling that crap on. That's terrible. Don't let this go. Call everyone above the principal who will listen and complain. Your child was not in the wrong for standing up to an adult male authority figure using physically threatening posturing to force compliance, after he ignored his legal obligation to uphold her medically necessary accommodations. This teacher is the one who needs to be disciplined. He's unfit to perform the duties of his job. Schools are legally bound to follow IEPs, etc. It's not an idiot move to enforce that. Furthermore, the child who lied to the instructor and was the catalyst for this crap show must be disciplined. The child who lied and set this in motion is what? Just being a kid? Joking? Ha ha, it's hilarious to abuse disabled people. This child needs to be disciplined. The staff needs to be disciplined, from the front office to the gym teacher, and they need some serious training. They want to punish her, but what they should be afraid of right now is the legal nightmare they're entering into if they do. You are the idiot, not because you're stopping your kid from having after-school detentions, but because you're punishing your kid for advocating for herself in the face of a bully. Having had a very similar situation with my own kid, the teacher took umbrage at his cancer. Ice cream is a more appropriate response. Update, I have since ungrounded Amanda and apologized and told her that I acted irrationally out of stress and anger at the school in the situation. I also told her it was up to her regarding the apology. Thank you. Your comments will be in my speech of things I bring up on Monday. I, 35 female, had 2 older sisters growing up, Jane and Kim. Unfortunately, Kim got sick and died, but not before giving birth to my niece Laura, 18. A year after Kim's passing, Jane and Laura's dad, Tom, 42, confessed to dating and were now engaged. Everyone was surprised, but no one was vocally as disgusted as I was. I accused them of cheating. Jane and Tom explained that this wasn't something they'd planned, but there was no cheating, and they knew that Kim would want them to be happy. Convenient, since she's, dead. I didn't attend the wedding and was upset at how everyone else was so accepting of the relationship. But the thing that hurt me the most was how Jane and Tom intended to erase Kim from Laura's life completely. She was barely 2 when Kim died, and they decided it would be better if Laura thought Jane was her mother in every sense of the word after the adoption was finalized. Tom got rid of any items that would suggest he and Kim were in a relationship and made his family swear never to tell Laura the truth. Jane expected everyone on our side of the family to do the same, but I refused, and as such I was denied access to Laura. It hurt, but when I thought about all those times Kim cried, knowing that she wouldn't live long enough to see Laura grow up, there was just no way I could honor the lie. They even had Laura's name legally changed to something that Jane liked as Kim picked out Laura's first name. I distanced myself from my family over time, but my parents always tried to get us to reconcile, citing that they didn't like this arrangement either, but accepting it was better than not being part of Laura's life at all. I couldn't do it. Growing up, Laura had known of me, but we never really interacted. Apparently, she's interested in studying a field I worked in and reached out to me through social media. The last time I saw her in person, she was 7, and I started to tear up at how much she looked like Kim. After that, we would talk occasionally, and eventually, Laura asked why I wasn't around. I tried to keep it vague, and Laura knew there was more to the story, as I didn't seem like the person I was described as. If we'd been talking through DMs like before, I probably wouldn't have done it, but we were video chatting, and something about looking directly into her eyes broke me, and I confessed to everything. Before Kim died, she and I made a series of videos for Laura to watch at her big moments, and I told her that if she ever wanted to watch any of them, I'd send them. Laura asked me to send some, and then I heard nothing from her for days. Recently, I got a call from an enraged Jane and Tom berating me for ruining their family. After Laura had watched some of the videos, she confronted my parents, who confirmed everything. Laura has moved out and is currently not speaking to anyone, and no one knows where she is. Everyone is angry at me. Am I the idiot? Edit. During the last few weeks of her life, Kim and I made a series of videos together so that Kim could leave special messages for Laura for important events. Kim also wrote letters for Laura. Tom got rid of all the letters and the final cuts and backups of the videos, but I still had copies that he didn't know about. I also forgot about them and only found them when I was moving and saw them in a small box. Not the idiot. Laura deserved the truth, and what the family did was nothing short of outright cruelty. They completely erased that girl's mother from her life, a mother who was not in her life by no fault of hers. Secondly, and I'm saying this for the millionth time, 8 billion people on the planet. Stop cheating with your siblings' exes, partners and spouses. Jeez. Agree. There were so many ways they could have spun the tale, kept her mother's memory alive, but made her feel so loved and wanted. But instead, they went so far as to even change her name. She deserved to know the truth and see those videos. The letter thing is super messed up, like, holy crap, a dying woman probably crying while writing to her daughter about things she'd hoped to tell her during big moments. Thrown away or burned in order for the mum to be erased. Those things Laura could have read are gone forever. Like, I hope Kim's ghost is now reaping all kinds of vengeance and her pustule of a sister and husband, and they feel a lifetime of misery they both richly deserve. Also, based on trying to completely erase Kim from their life and the reality she was Laura's birth mom, I think OP was correct that Jane and Tom cheated together before Kim died. At some point, Laura was going to find out, and the longer it went on, the worse it would be for her. That is way too big of a secret to keep contained. My wife and I, 25 male, recently had our beautiful infant son, our first. After he was born, we called our families to let them know. Then we FaceTimed my mom so she could meet her grandson. My wife was pointing the camera at me while I was holding him. I was sobbing the whole time. That triggered my wife and mom to start crying, making me even more emotional because I was so happy our son was finally here. My brother and sister were staying with my mom around that time, so they were on the call too. Anyways, after my brother, 27, pointed out how funny it was to him that I was crying, and yeah, he's one of those men don't cry guys, we're used to it by now. However, I didn't like him laughing about an important moment in my life like it was no big deal to cry about. It was the birth of my son. When we were at my mom's house, my son started crying because he was hungry. So my brother said, "Looks like he's daddy's son then." I asked him what he meant by that. He said it was because of me crying like a little baby. But don't worry, hopefully Kai, my son, doesn't end up as bad as me. My brother thought it was funny, but to be honest, it irked me. It's not the first time he said something about that, and not like I haven't told him it's annoying and he needs to stop. My response was pretty much, better that I cried like a baby than ran like a baby like you, reminding him that he didn't even see my niece when she was born until over a month later because he didn't want to be involved at first. He's only somewhat involved, so it was already a touchy subject for him. My mom got mad at us both. Bro was offended by it, so bad he didn't even want to say bye when we left. He won't stop acting like I was a massive idiot for bringing something personal up for him when he was poking fun at me. Don't know now if it was going too far. He got a taste of what it feels like being made fun of, but does it make me an idiot? Not the idiot. Your brother believes in some toxic masculinity nonsense and is ignorant. He got his feelings hurt because he decided to be a nasty tool. Too bad, so sad. OP, when your brother gets over being butthurt, tell him life is like boxing. Don't take jabs at people if you can't take hits back. For real. He's happy to make jokes about how unmanly OP is, but couldn't muster up enough man sauce to be there for his own kid. That's the sound of a brittle, faux masculinity trying not to shatter at a slight poke. Maybe it's good he's not really in his daughter's life. OMG, it seems like OP's brother suddenly discovered feelings. LOL. Your brother knows he's a crappy father, which is why he finds humor in bullying you. He's afraid of the truth and expects you to laugh along. Congratulations on your new bundle of joy. Have a feeling you're going to be a great dad. I, 30 female, am 8 months pregnant with my first child. It's a boy. My husband, Rodrigo, 35, died in the army 3 months ago. My sister Kayla, 28, just gave birth 5 days ago. She and her boyfriend live with our parents, and I temporarily moved in as well. It's a huge house, because I hated being alone and my parents have been very supportive. We were going to name the baby Alex, and I'm still going with that, plus Rodrigo as a middle name. My sister never discussed baby names with the family or me. She always said she loves Hispanic names. We are white Americans and my husband was Mexican. Yesterday, she returned home with the baby and introduced us all to baby boy Rodrigo. I started crying and told her that was awful of her. My mother comforted me and told my sister she was way out of line with the name. Sister says I don't own the name. It's a common name where we live. It is. And I'm going with Rodrigo as a middle name anyway, not a first, so it won't be a problem. I told my sister to change the name to anything else. She says I'm an idiot for suggesting she changes her kid's identity. Am I the idiot? Dear God, you are not the idiot. Is she really going to say that's his identity while he's an infant? I think my eyes just nearly rolled out of my head. If she refuses to change it, I tell her to kick rocks and go no contact. I am so sorry for your loss. My heart goes out to you. While you can't own a name, it still feels wrong to name your kid the same name as your sister's dead husband without talking about it first, especially if he died so recently. Maybe if she talked to you about it first, you'd feel differently. Do yourself a favor and find your place before giving birth and move out. Wow, not a trace of sympathy in your sister, huh? Your sister knows what she's doing. She's not a very good person. You can't force her. She probably won't cave because she already knew it would hurt you and did it anyway. If that's her attitude, you and your baby would be better off going no contact with her. Also, if I were your parent, I'd kick her out the house for being insensitive.